Good evening, guys. Bill McMillan here with NDWX.com late on Thursday evening, and after a cold and just extended stretch of wintry conditions, today's high of 78 degrees with plentiful sunshine certainly has to put a smile on the face of many. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to hang on to this pleasant weather. We're going to turn rather unsettled over the upcoming weekend and much colder for the second half of the weekend. But we've got to just enjoy this while we've got it. Thankfully, tomorrow will be another mostly dry day and unseasonably warm again, as temperatures go somewhere between 75 and 80 for most of central Indiana. So relish it and just get outside, find a way to enjoy the pleasant conditions as we wrap up the work week. As we take a look at the forecast radar, again, as mentioned, most of our Friday will remain rain-free. Now, there is the potential of a couple of showers as we go through the early and mid-afternoon hours, but I still think that will be rather insignificant, and most of central Indiana should remain free of any sort of significant precipitation as we wrap up the work week. That changes, though, as we move into the weekend, and showers and some embedded thunder move in here as early as the overnight hours, Friday night to Saturday, somewhere between 2 and 3 o'clock, I think, is a good bet. This will not be, though, an all-day rain on Saturday. Saturday morning appears to be the wettest, most unsettled portion of the day, and then I think as we progress into the afternoon into Saturday evening, we should get several hours of dry time before things turn rather wet again as we move into the second half of the weekend. Now, before we do that, I wanted to take a look at forecast temperatures because the warmth tomorrow will certainly be impressive. I think highs will go into the 75 to 80 degree range for afternoon highs on Friday afternoon. Saturday will start warm. However, we're going to notice this backdoor cold front sinking south, and that's really going to present a challenge here and quite the temperature gradient as we progress through the second half of the weekend and present more of just a true raw feel to the air, especially when you factor in the wet conditions that we're going to see on Sunday. Watch how this backdoor front just continues to progress south, as indicated here at least by the high-res NAM, and that's going to really put quite the temperature gradient across central Indiana as we go into the second half of the weekend, as temperatures in the northern portion of the state are around freezing Sunday morning, where potentially even freezing rain is going to be possible, in the low to mid 40s here across central portions of the state, and in the low 60s across the southern portion of the state. So we're going to have to monitor where exactly this backdoor front makes it. I will say it's a challenging forecast because a second wave of low pressure will develop along this cold front as we move through the second half of the weekend, and that's certainly going to provide us here in central Indiana with a rather true washout of a Sunday. I think certainly if we look at the weekend, and we would probably have to lean more towards Saturday as being the better of the 2 days, even though we will have to deal with the showers and thunderstorms during the morning. I think we will get into some drier conditions in the afternoon into the evening before that area of low pressure develops along the front and provides rather widespread rain for our Sunday. That rain, by the way, will begin to transition over to wet snow and snow squalls late Sunday night into Monday as much colder air moves in here again behind that area of low pressure. So certainly not over winter just yet, despite the near 80 degrees today and temperatures again that will flirt with, if not surpass the 80 degree mark on Friday. Much colder to close the weekend and open up the new work week. And then as we put the GFS into motion here, we're going to notice how we should get into some drier conditions on Tuesday. Another weak weather system will approach the middle part of the week. A possible shower there on Wednesday. Still doesn't look to be a big deal with that Wednesday system. But as we move into the following weekend, another rather significant storm system begins to spin up to our west, and that's going to provide us with the chances of showers and thunderstorms next Saturday, I should say, into next Sunday as that area of low pressure moves across the Ohio Valley and into the southern Great Lakes region. So it's still a very active pattern, and it's a pattern that is going to remain colder than average when we look at it from an overall perspective over the next couple of weeks, and really for that matter to close out April, I believe. In fact, this is a look at the latest GFS ensemble out there in the 10 to 15 day range, and you just see how this widespread colder than normal regime continues. And if we zoom out and take a look at the precipitation, we also see how, again, this is a rather active pattern for the plains and into the Ohio Valley, the Great Lakes, and for that matter as well across the Deep South. So yes, it's been nice to get a couple of days of warmth and rather dry conditions. Certainly has been nice. Unfortunately, we just can't hang on to it yet. I think this pattern should eventually begin to break during the early parts of May. The first few days of May, I believe we can go through more of a wholesale pattern change where we get rid of this unseasonably cold conditions that just continue to dominate and move towards more of a sustained, pleasant spring-type pattern. The JMA weeklies are in as well. Wanted just to close out with this. This is a look at what they would suggest over the upcoming month. Notice how the wetter than normal conditions favor the Ohio Valley and the eastern portion of the country. I would agree with that over the next 3 to 4 week time frame. Also, though, this persistent trough under the block remains, and that's going to support continued colder than average conditions across most of the country in the large sense over the next few weeks. Now, that's not to say that we can't get some sort of warmth that advances ahead of approaching storm systems similar to what we're experiencing now. It's just to say that in an overall perspective, the next 3 to 4 weeks still look colder than normal, and it's really not until we get into the first week or so of May, I think, that we begin to pull out of this pattern. So guys, that will do it for the Thursday night update, a late update for you. Make it a great Friday, close the work week out strong, and we'll go into a rather active weekend again. I think Saturday will be the best of the 2 days. Wet and rather stormy Saturday morning into the early afternoon before we go through a bit of a break in the precipitation Saturday evening, I believe. Sunday appears to be a washout, and one that turns quite ugly as well, with just an increasingly raw and just cold feel to the air as we move into the second half of the weekend. Guys, make it a great evening. Thank you as always for logging on to ndwx.com. We'll talk with you soon.